Hey, welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 315. And this week we head back to our retro review series to analyze and discuss arguably the greatest heavy metal record of all time. It's Metallica's Metallica, the Black Album, celebrating 35 years this week. We talk about the good, the bad, and is there any ugly? Keep listening or watching to find out. It's all next on the State of Love and Trust.
Hey, I'm Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I am William Duvall of Alice in Chains.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
I'm Tim Montana.
I am Alan Johannes.
Hey, I'm Greg Deal with Dead Pioneers.
And this is the State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed the algorithm.
Welcome back to another episode of the State of Love and Trust podcast. I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
Paul. Gang, if you are out there and you like the metal, this is going to be a fun one, is it not?
This is an epic show, not because it's you and me. It's an epic show because we're going over Metallica's Black Album.
Oh, hail. I'm wearing the shirt today. You can see I got the shirt on.
You are. I got to get one of those, man.
You're there in spirit, though, because you got black on black. It's the Alive logo, but it's black on black. That fits the bill for me.
Yeah, I got a little dash of red down there.
There you go. So there's a lot to get to. So before we get into it, quick housekeeping. If you're here on YouTube, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if listening, only Paul.
You're going to rate, you're going to review, and hopefully you're going to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm and fix the struggle within.
Oh, you did it. Well done. I like that one a lot. Okay. Off to a great start, gang. If you like this content, you like this show, there are ways to support us down below. Oh my God, that rhymed. Didn't even mean it. You didn't even mean it. It just came out. Except for me being excited about that, haphazard and accidental rhyme. Go ahead and click the links below for our Patreon if you want to be a patron and join a fantastic community of people. Or you can buy a shirt, a mug, a hat, a hoodie, all kinds of stuff that support the show. We appreciate everybody who's bought something. So thank you in advance if you do. Otherwise, we got to get to it because on August 12th, 1991, the Black Album, Metallica, came out 35 years ago, Paul. This thing is.
I know, man. It's crazy. And it's wild when you think about the albums that preceded it. You know what I mean? Which were all epic, but they almost got like, they seemed to crescendo into And Justice for All, which was this like progressive masterpiece, at least in thrash metal at the time. And this album showed something that the other ones had not. And I guess the word that I would use to characterize it is restraint, which sounds weird on like a hard rock metal album. But it announced the arrival of James Hetfield as just an elite lyricist. Mm-hmm. We had kind of like, and if you think about the themes on the albums that come before this, you're talking about things like, and again, I'm a Zeppelin fan, so I'm into this, but like fantasy, politics. There's a lot of abstract imagery on a lot of those records as well. And I think, the exploration of specific themes, you know what I mean? Things like fear and faith and isolation and identity and vulnerability, all that stuff kind of like added that emotional weight. And yes. I think when you look back on this record, you're going to, which is what we're going to do, you're going to see something that I think is it borders on impossible to overstate. Just how huge this record was. And it's amazing how at the time there were actually people that thought the band was selling out and going commercial because of
they
its
sold,
success.
Paul.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Let's give you a few brief facts about the record before we dive into our ratings and reviews. It was recorded over the course of 9 months. Holy Moses, from October 1990 to June 1991 with producer Bob Rock, famous for a number of records, including Dr. Feelgood, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi stuff. It was recorded right down the road from my house at one-on-one recording studios on Lankershim in North Hollywood, California, mixed over at A&M, which was called Henson, called A&M Studios in Hollywood on La Brea and Sunset, I want to say. And it cost about $1 million to make. Holy Moses, but they got it back. It debuted at number 1, Metallica's first number 1 record. Stayed there for 4 weeks. It was
a huge thank you to Jethro Tull.
Yes. Well, yeah, exactly. It spent 750 total weeks on the Billboard 200, which is like unheard of. It sold 598,000 units in its first week. It's got 20 million plus sold in the US, which is double diamond status, over 30 million sold worldwide, 5 massively popular and successful singles, and Enter Sandman won Best Metal Performance at the 1992 Grammys. And there's more, but we won't get into the rest of it. But I mean, holy God, that's a resume for an album, huh?
Yeah, man. Bob Rock comes in. He's like, "Hey guys, I got an idea. How about you guys write some songs that breathe a little bit, some grooves that hit a little bit harder, and I don't know, some choruses that audiences could actually remember after one listen."
And you know what? The band was ready for it. They knew that after Justice, they wanted to find a new way forward. You said the word restrain, and I'll have some adjectives as we go through each song that kind of synonym. That's a hard word to say sometimes when you're having wine. By the way, cheers. cheers to Metallica's Black Album, 35 years old.
Indeed.
I say we just get into it. We got 12 songs to cover. I think it's like a 65-minute album or something like that. So we got a lot of work to get through. So let's start out with the one that you all know. Even your mother knows this one. Enter Sandman. What can you say? But Enter Sandman is home to arguably the most iconic riff in rock history. Thank you, Mr. Kirk Hammett, for that one. The buildup has been used by fucking everyone, Paul. Mariano Rivera, Virginia Tech football.
Virginia Tech, dude. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's your son's, Little League walk-up song at some point.
There is no Little League team that does not have at least one player who walks out.
That's what I'm saying. It's incredible. And you have this riff, this boomerang riff, as I like to call it. It takes you to a place and then it swings you back to the beginning again. It's head whipping. And I think when we think about dynamics, the first one is when Lars gives us the halftime groove as the main riff moves up into the pre-chorus. Even past that, Paul. But this is how you build up the tension. And it helps to have Hetfield's prime era growl singing such an iconic lyric, exit light, enter night. And can you imagine being a kid watching the music video for the first, oh, wait a minute. I can't imagine that because it was me. That was the guy. Yeah, I was doing that. And this cryptically anti-lullaby message, it's just so creepy and yet satisfying at the same time. And then comes the solo. Just absolute levels from Kirk Hammett. And this is not like the wild shredder from those first 4 albums that you mentioned. There was melody, groove, and something that was, I think, always in him, and Bob Rock unleashed it. He unleashed it. And I think we'd see an even greater example of this later on in the album too, that I'll get to. But if that's not enough, the pounding drum, spoken word interlude, like who thinks of that? And then on top of that, the groove is the same as the intro, the drum groove, that floor tom, heavy stalking beat, a great callback by Bob Rock to build to the final chorus, which is doubled for the first and last time with great effect. And it all builds to that band break and the return of the main riff. And then boom, oh my, goddamn. If that as in a punch in the mouth kind of song. And as an album opener, hell friggin' yeah. I remember back in 91, they were opening shows with this. This tour, this Black Album tour opened with Enter Sandman. And pretty much every single tour since then, it's either the closer or thereabouts. The balance of heavy metal and pop might not have been perfected to this point, but here it is. How do you not give it a 5 out of 5? Christ.
I take no umbrage with that rating, my good man. I was watching that segment on Virginia Tech where they kind of like documented the the rise of the team and how that, they were examining different songs and like, oh, maybe Thunderstruck by AC/DC they were thinking about. They went through a lineup of songs, and ultimately they're like, there's only one. There's only one that can be the song for this team to come out to, and it's Enter Sandman. And Kirk's there, and he's talking about how, I had this riff, this rhythmic riff. And Bob was like, well, what if you did like 3 times? And then it's like, dun, 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 dun. Oh, man, yeah, that's cool. And then he starts playing it. And it's so like deceptively simple. Yeah. But that rhythmic bounce is, I think, part of what makes it just iconic. You know what I mean? And you're right. Everything around it, from the way Lars comes in to the way that crashing cymbal comes in with the distortion. It's the kind of song that I don't know if I don't think it happens without Bob Rock. And I say that because when you think about like his fingerprints and how they're all over this thing, you've got like huge guitars, massive drums, and this is important. There's clear separation.
Yes,
and I think that's part of what's different in this song than what we were used to with Metallica's music previously. There was kind of like a long measures. Sometimes songs would meander with purpose, mind you, but this one had clear separation of all these different pieces, and everything sounds expansive on it. Yeah. Expensive too, but expansive. And I tell you, like the themes I think are tough, with James talking about just the fear of the dark. But I think when you consider like how the song begins, like this idea, like look, you have kids, I have kids, this fear of like sudden death syndrome, you know what I mean? This idea that a child won't wake, you know what I mean? It's a terrifying, arresting thought. And, the lyrics obviously have evolved since then to really encompass this concept of like a broader nightmare narrative. And I think it works beautifully here. It makes it a lot more accessible for pretty much anyone that's listening to it, from your 7-year-old little leaguer to your, your 50 or 55 or 60-year-old rocker. You know what I mean? And the imagery, I think, it's just vague enough on a variety of levels that it becomes universal. And I think that part is key because, again, it adds to the accessibility of the song. The drumming, though, and this is key because Master of Puppets and Justice for All, like the technical aspects of those records far supersede anything you're going to hear on the Black Album. But Lars's drumming is so economical, and you hear it from the get-go on this song. And I think that's exactly what this particular record needed. And I mean, hey, like shout out to Jason Newsted. The bass here really has presence. And I think that part is neglected sometimes when you think back on it, because I don't want to say that the bass was virtually absent on Justice for All. It's not. It's there, but it was really it's a little muted, a little subdued, but it is like pushed to the forefront on so many songs with this record, namely the opening one. Yeah. So I just think, and what better placement, obviously, putting it smack dab right at the top of the record like this. It doesn't just introduce the Black Album, it introduces a new version of Metallica that I think not every fan was ready for at the time. And some folks, I think, I don't want to say they dismissed it as too commercial. That take has not aged well. I mean, this song is just a rock masterpiece. So 5 out of 5, 5.5 out of 5 for God's sake. I mean, you can't. It's a hard rock anthem for a reason.
Yeah. So, no notes for me. I think we've nailed that. Yep. How do you argue against it? Well, we got 11 more, and a lot of them are very good. So let's go to the next one. Another single, Sad But True. Oh my God, what key are we in? Are we descending into hell? What is this song, Paul? Oh yeah.
It's lower tuning, right? It's a halftime groove, which is different. It's weight, dude. Like you feel the heaviness of the song.
Is it the heaviest song ever made?
Well, it's cool because it's like the band kind of like recognizes that slow can be heavier than fast on this song, And I think that was the part that was like, whoa, man, this is like, it's not like dredging, you know what I mean? But because there's a rhythm to it. Anyway.
Well, you know what's cool is like, so the thing that should not be track 3 off of Master Puppets is also a drop. Everyone's dropped down a full step. It's not a drop D song. It's a fully dropped down full step to D tuning. And I don't think people give it enough credit, and it's a hell of a song. I love it. But this just sounds different, and it's got to be because of Bob Rock. And I also do want to get something out of the way in that I know people, and talked about Lars a minute ago being economical. People love to talk the shit on Lars Ulrich, and yes, he is not the most technically amazing drummer that ever lived. But I will say this: this song is Lars Ulrich. This song does not fuck as hard with someone else on the kit.
Like when it goes silent and you just hear the drum come in, and I mean
that's especially considering the drum sounds that he and Bob cooked up for weeks, and I'm not exaggerating, for weeks in pre-production. Now, this song is not my favorite on the album, but sometimes it kind of is. I mean, look at my shirt again, Paul. Look, it's right there. The way that the verse feeds into the chorus is so smooth too. The use of drum fills and the subtle key shift is just brilliant. And speaking of, the way that the bridge feeds into the solo is just money. The tension building to a band break, that iconic snare riff that you mentioned from Lars. And then, by the way, we get like a double solo, or is it like a solo cut in half, separated by a mini chorus? I don't know what is going on there, but it's a brilliant wrinkle in the song structure, which I really do appreciate. And then the bars out of the chorus, twice as long with the extended snare fill before the final verse. Again, these are subtle but brilliant architectural wrinkles that break up, the monotony of your A-B pop song.
Right.
And yet, you're surrounded by hooks. Everything is a hook. The riff, the way Hetfield sings, the lyrics themselves, the drums. You are consumed by this song. And there's one set of lines that always got me. Hey, I'm your life. I'm the one who took you there. Hey, I'm your life, and I no longer care. If men's mental health was a thing in the early 90s, someone would have been like, James, are you okay? Because that's some heavy shit, man. Like, hold on. Like, but isn't that what music is all about? And I think that this is another supremely well thought out and executed song that, while not perfect, is so close. Like, I could probably stand to be like 20 to 30 seconds shorter, but I'm like grasping at straws here. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Okay. That's a fair rating. I want to go straight to what you talked about as far as the lyrical content is concerned. I think,
Please.
As a song, it has always struck me as a conversation about humanity's darker impulses. And, I think that is a segue to mental wellness on a lot of different levels. But there is the sad but true nature is that we are flawed. We're not infallible, obviously, though some might argue otherwise. And I think that simple, direct, and effective approach lyrically works well when you marry it with a heavy rhythm guitar that is so tight. I mean, James's riff it's so tight here. And I think the pauses in between each riff is key. It's just as important to the riffs themselves. Again, restraint. And so I think more so than perhaps any other song on the record, this is where it's exercised the most, and it's done so, I think, to its most optimal degree. And I think that's what makes this song so iconic on a lot of levels. I hear shades of so many metal and post-grunge songs that would come after this for decades later. I mean, you could argue, I don't know if you agree with this, but you could argue that like a band like Pantera and that mainstream crossover that they eventually facilitated is indebted somewhat to this song on a lot of levels as well. Because I think, man,
I'm bought out. Like there's a
absolutely. And it's the tone too. You know what I mean? It's that guitar tone that was achieved on this was hugely influential throughout the rest of the decade. So I just think that this song, there is a lot more. It sounds simple, But when you look at it within the context of the band's music that came before it and what the rest of this record itself looks like, this song is incredibly important and I think canonical as well. So I'm with you on the rating. I think it's a huge rock song. It doesn't have the same level of gravitas, I guess, that Enter Sandman does. So 4.5 out of 5, completely fair rating. Although I wouldn't fight anyone who said, "Are you kidding me, man? That song's a 5 out of 5."
Yeah, I'm with you. I felt like the half-point deduction for nitpicky things that might have been like, again, shut up, Jason. It's a 4.5, maybe even a 5 out of 5. We move on to Holier Than Thou. Holier Than Thou has one of the baddest riffs you'll ever hear. The gallop picking is back, baby, and right out of the gate. Now,
classic thrash.
It really is. I will say, though, I am not super hot on what Lars is doing here. For me, it's a bit too simplistic, considering when the beat drops, it's also simplistic. Now, I don't really have too many solutions here. Maybe a kick drum triplet here to match the gallop picking, but it just doesn't add enough for me at the outro. At the outset. However, when the groove does come in and the main riff comes, it is a scene, man. It is just like it's just, you want to get into a race car. And I think Holier differs from the previous two tracks in that it's much more concise and direct. And the changes happen quicker and they're shorter. And it keeps things interesting when, I think guitar-wise, there isn't as much going on as before. Now, that's not a bad thing, by the way, but it's smart in how they didn't try to extend each section. Now, how about this lyric? Judge not, lest ye be judged yourself. That line has always rung a little bit cheesy to me, but at least it doesn't linger. It does, however, go right into Holier Than Thou You Are, which admittedly isn't that much better, but on the other hand, you've got this line, arrogance and ignorance go hand in hand. I like that. Simple but powerful. Now, the bridge, as is often the case for me, may be the most interesting part of the song. You have this new riff coming in. It's super groovy, and the way that it leads straight into the guitar solo is magical to me. It's got a couple of unresolved bars where you think it's going to move on to the next section, but it returns to the top of the riff instead. And this is something that Metallica has done brilliantly most of their career, making you think a section is gonna resolve, and then they add like an extra rep or two, and in interesting ways at that. Now, the guitar solo, it's quick, it ascends delightfully over the chord changes beneath it, and it gives way to what I call the layered rejoin. First, Newsted's bass with the main riff, then Hetfield, then Kirk, and then straight into the chorus. And the ending feels, I would say, a little haphazard, like maybe they were struggling to figure out how to end it. But ultimately, I think it kind of does work, but not as solid as they would have wanted to. I think this is a very solid song with a respectable rating of a 3.5.
Hey, look, this is the song where when you put the Black Album on, if you had been a longtime Metallica fan, you're like, oh, okay, that's the band I remember.
Yes.
Okay. It's fast, it's punchy, it's concise, it's a thrasher song. It really, really is. Where I think it succeeds on this particular record is, I think, in its speed. And I think when you couple that with Bob Rock's polished sound, it actually makes the speed feel sharper. And I think that's the difference between this song and some of the examples of thrash metal on previous records. What's unique about this song, though, I think, and this is key, this sharp attack on self-hypocrisy, which you kind of outlined when you read some of James's lyrics. I think that there's a confidence here in his lyrical writing that it is a little different. I'm not saying he wasn't writing great lyrics before the Black Album, because he absolutely was. But there seems to be a level of self-assurance that comes with compositions like this that I think feel more exploratory or more suggestive, if you will, on many songs on the earlier records that come before it. So I think the Holier Than Thou chorus, I know it feels underwhelming to you, but to me, it's obviously the difference being the chorus for Enter Sandman, but for a thrasher song like this, which is diametrically so different than Enter Sandman, this is a chorus that on a lot of levels is just begging to be shouted. And I think that's important as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it works well, I think, on an album like this, which is filled with, it's a metal album that somehow succeeds as an arena rock album.
Yeah.
And I think that's the polish, you know what I mean? So I think it's a really impressive song. And I think it's an important energy spike before we start seeing the band broaden their horizons a little bit stylistically, which is going to come out later. So I think it's a key placement of a song on the record based on what is going to come after it. So, you know, it wasn't a huge single. I get that, but I think it's a respectable song. I'm at a 3 out of 5. It's never something that I skip. But certainly if this is what you're looking for from Metallica as a band, you'll find it in better forms, I think, on earlier records. But as it exists here on this record, I think it's perfect for what it is. And I love how it feels evolved and properly placed and properly composed for the complexity and the ambitious nature of what this record was meant to be. I don't think you can just plug and play a thrasher song off an earlier album and just drop it in here in place of Holier Than Thou. And so that's why I think I have a deeper level of respect for it than maybe some fans that might say, okay, well, you know, this is a, milquetoast version of what I got in the last 3 or 4 records.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So anyway, 3 out of 5 for me, but solid track.
All right. Time for another single. It's The Unforgiven. If there was ever a song to illustrate how far Metallica had come, it was The Unforgiven. I feel like they were always building to this. You got Fade to Black, Sanitarium, One. That 4th track on the album was always the downshift.
Mm-hmm.
But how intricate and how layered and how mature could they be? Well, for me, this is that idea fully formed. And if we listen at the intro point, the amount of instruments, fills, layers, Jason's bass guiding us through the musical forest, James's Spanish guitar setting the tone, you know, and then the flip. You gotta love flipping the quiet, loud dynamic on its head.
Mm-hmm.
The verse is loud.
It was the other way around, right? It'd be like loud chorus and like chill verse. And this is like,
how beautiful is this? You know, loud chorus, aggressive in your face, while the verse, while the chorus is quiet and beautiful and yearning. It was the first time I'd personally heard this dynamic this way. And I remember at the time, you know, we were flooded with this quiet, loud approach, in no small part due to Nirvana. But yeah, like the whole verse pre-chorus section from a guitar work perspective is brilliant. The guitar melody mirrors the vocal melody, and then this descent towards the quiet chorus with the string section. It is just absolutely peak. And again, similar to Holier, Metallica just knows how to build tension. The soft intro guitar out of the second chorus with Kirk on that clean electric bluesy licks, building tension, and then the release. And we got to talk about it. It's the guitar solo. It's been well documented in the. Have you seen the Year and a Half in the Life of documentary?
No.
Do yourself a favor. It came out like, I don't know, mid-90s, something like that. It was like a 2-discer or 2 VHSer, where part of it was the making of the album and the other part was the tour, behind the scenes of the tour. Incredible. On the Year and a Half in the Life of, in the studio portion, you see Bob Rock pushing Kirk to play the best solo that he possibly could for the song, for the moment. And eventually they catch the take on film and Kirk is like, yeah, how about that? Because he's so mad at Bob for pushing him and having him repeat the solo. I just played the solo. Well, play it again. Play it better. What are you trying to do? And he's pushing Kirk. And finally, this comes out. And this solo, it takes you on a journey. It's a roller coaster of emotions. And what's really brilliant is what's happening underneath. James, Lars, and Jason are like in the pocket, creating this beautiful wave for Kirk to surf on. And honestly, it is one of the best bits of music in the entire Metallica catalog. From the build-up and the execution of the outro is sublime. Layers and layers of instruments complementing each other as Hetfield sings that mantra. You label me, I label you. So I dub the Unforgiven as they fade into black. And this is like one of those few times I will happily accept a faded
fade
outro,
out?
by the way. Yeah. And I didn't even really get into
Pearl Jam's Life Waste is like, hey, what am I, chopped liver?
Exactly. I didn't even get into the incredible lyrical themes, which I'm sure that you will, that James chose to portray. But goddamn, are they good? I mean, again, no notes, 5 out of 5. Paul, please expand.
Well, look, you get these beautiful, rich acoustic textures, and they just blend seamlessly with these just massive crushing guitars. And I think when you bend the formula backwards and you have, big verse and then softer chorus, it just adds a dynamic that wasn't just new for Metallica. It was unique and new to the majority of music that I think had followed a formula for decades. And it's not that no band had ever tried to do this before, but it's not something you would expect out of arguably at the time, the biggest metal band on the planet. And I think the other thing that's key here is you talked about the soft delivery of the chorus. That vocal restraint when he delivers that chorus, I think gives the song enormous impact. And again, it goes down to like, how do I do more with less? And I think he nails it here, James, with the way that he sings that chorus. And I don't know how designed that was, or whether or not, like, are there demos where he doesn't sing it that way, or was it always planned to be that way? Was that something he had to be talked into? I don't know. I mean, the solo, you nailed this. It might be one of the finest ones in rock, period. It's certainly one of his greatest solos, Kirk's greatest solos. And I think the other thing too, when you asked me to chat a little bit about the lyrical content, you get themes of conformity. You have emotional repression. You have, we're circling around this idea of identity, and it keeps coming up throughout the record, but it's really highlighted here. And all that continues to resonate decades later, but it's grounded in this, it's this like Western feel. It has like a gunslinger, and I love that I have this poster behind me for this conversation. Yeah. It has this Western, and it has always felt that way to me. You just see these gunslingers like stepping out at a train depot with tumbleweeds and dust and stuff like that. I don't know, man. It's just this idea of like having to conform and subscribe to something that doesn't represent who you are, suppressing who you are emotionally, or being forced to, or being told that you need to do that, and how that creates an internal conflict of identity. And again, this is why I love the chorus so much. Instead of exploding, we turn inward. And that's why that chorus, I think, is delivered the way that it is. It's such a smart, cerebral composition, sonically and lyrically. It's a masterpiece. It really, really is. So 5 out of 5 for sure. No quibbles here for me on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that we're going to go much farther down than from here either, because the next song is also a banger. Wherever I May Roam. So in the aforementioned year and a half in the life of, the fellows are looking over tables of random instruments that Bob wants them to be inspired by. And some of them are found on the intro of The Unforgiven. And then there's this sitar. Who in the 80s would have predicted Kirk Hammett would open a Metallica song with a friggin' sitar?
I don't know. He was probably listening to the Beatles' Revolver the night before, as my guess. Might have been. So we get that, and then Lars' snare ushers in this delightfully mad halftime section where the guitars have replaced the sitar. And then another dynamic shift, full-time groove with that awesome little chromatic ascension by the guitars at the end of their bar, complemented by Lars' kick drum triplet. Just brilliant. Already there is so much happening, and we're just a minute into the song. The verses are brilliant. Another groove, Lars' tom, heavy, saunter rhythm puts us in the desert. James singing about probably what knows best at this point, touring, feeling disconnected from home, maybe even homeless, and just
being okay with wandering, searching, exploring. And I gotta say, this really hit me as I got older too, metaphorically and literally in a lot of ways. I feel like many of us are exploring, searching, and maybe most importantly, feeling okay with that. There's this sense of letting go, allowing the universe to be your boat's captain, as evidenced by these lyrics. Only knowledge will I save, to this game you stay a slave, rover, wanderer, nomad,
vagabond.
Call me what you will. And then the chorus. So many levels. These guys at this point are such elevated songwriters that you can't predict where they'll take a song, even if the next chord seems obvious. How about these lines? And the earth becomes my throne. I adapt to the unknown. Under wandering stars I've grown, by myself, but not alone. I mean, come on. This is so empowering and within a topic that would make a lot of people feel anxious, but some kinds of solitude are overwhelming. Some are inspiring. And I love that James leans in to the latter. And there are just so many other brilliant decisions made in this song, like doubling the second second chorus by splitting it up with the harmonized guitar bits. The guitar solo section, once again, has brilliant levels, full-time, halftime, back to full-time again. Kirk riding that wave perfectly. And much like the Unforgiven, a mantra-like outro that does not disappoint. Carved upon my stone, my body lies, but still I roam. Yeah, wherever I may roam. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about those lines and the wicked outro. Kirk is going nuts. Lars employing and emptying all of his drum fill reserves. I mean, again, I have no notes. It's 5 out of 5. Again, God damn it. It's just too good.
You know, it's arguably like the richest sonic landscape on the whole record, especially with that Eastern intro that they've got going on. When I hear this song now, to me, it's Metallica's version of Turn the Page, which is interesting because they would cover that Bob Seger song on Garage Inc. But long before Garage Inc., there was this. And it was Pearl Jam. Really any of these bands that live on the road and have for so many years, Pearl Jam, Metallica, Dave Matthews Band, Grateful Dead. I mean, any of these bands that Rush, they just live on the road. You've got to imagine that you have to make peace with that. You know what I mean? This is, and you're taking your wares somewhere. And what I love about the Eastern intros, it brings me back to like the time of the Silk Road. And that path and the trials and tribulations and the dangers of the journey ahead. And those dangers are obviously not the same when you're on the road with a band, but there are still dangers that exist, you know, the isolation, the self-doubt, the loneliness, all of that. And I think James does, to your point, a marvelous job of trying to take all of that fear and use it as a source of energy to empower himself and help define what this is going to be for him versus letting it define him in turn. Yeah. So incredibly empowering. It really, really is. Again, another great example of just like a huge bass line. You know what I mean? The bass is incredible. I think on this, it's just outstanding bass work. It's just a wonderful dynamic build that leads up to the crescendos of not just the chorus, but just the opening after the Middle Eastern, or the Eastern, I shouldn't say Middle Eastern, the Eastern intro. And I just think as an autobiographical piece, it works so well. And you can see the kinship there with Seger and what would, you know, lead him to eventually want to cover a song or have a great affinity for a song like that. 5 out of 5 for sure. It was the song that was the gateway to my daughter loving Metallica.
Ooh, I love that for her.
Which is, you know what I mean? Like I was, you know, trying to get her into Metallica, which is kind of like a heavy, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to, you know, introduce my 8 or 9-year-old daughter. And she's older now. But at the time I was like, you know, you'll dig it, I swear. And then Wherever I May Roam comes on and she's like, play it again. I'm like, yes.
We've done it.
We've done it. This was the song. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you would think it'd be Enter Sandman or something. No, it was Wherever I May.
I love that. Oh, that's fantastic. What a great button to that song. Woo! We got no time, guys. We got to keep moving. Don't tread on me.
So be it. Fret no more. To secure pieces. To prepare for war. So be it. Settle the score. Touch me again with
Okay, so this is where the album takes a bit of a turn. Don't Tread on Me is a bit of a surprising departure from the critical of America themes of Injustice for All. Very patriotic song. But let's start back at the beginning. The opening is a bit of a nod to America from West Side Story. And I'll give most of you a second to pick your jaws up off the floor. Yes, you heard that right. Metallica referencing West Side Story. Thank you very much. You also probably recognize the title of the song is the same that what's on the Gadsden flag, the famous yellow flag with the coiled snake that's been appropriated by far-right political groups in America over the last couple of decades. However, the music, the verses, the lyrics.
The
marching. We're past that though. I'm beyond that at this point. The verses they're heavy and they ascend up the guitar neck, moving the melody in a chromatic way as James sings about the USA as that Gadsden snake, ready to bite if cornered and threatened. Problem is, as many of us know, that's not exactly true. America loves to do the threatening. So the irony of this patriotic message, one written around the time of the first Gulf War, mind you, is really quite stark to me, and I don't believe has aged very well. And the lyrics themselves are, I think, a little bit immature on top of that. You got these right here. Liberty or death, what we so proudly hail. Once you provoke her, rattling of her tail. Never begins it, never but once engaged. Never surrenders, showing the fangs of rage. I said, don't tread on me. And in the second verse, it gets even better. Love it or leave it. She with the deadly bite. Quick as the blue tongue, forked as lightning strike. And the lyrics don't get much better in the chorus. I do like the music that gets us there and in the chorus too, but we've got some pretty cringy lines here. So be it, threaten no more. To secure peace is to prepare for war. So be it, settle the score. Touch me again for the words that you'll hear evermore. The best part of this song, for me, it's got to be Kirk Hammett's solo and Lars' drumming underneath that solo. They both keep it very interesting, something that probably can't be said for a lot of the song. Okay, I lied. Actually, my favorite part of the song is right after the solo. It's like this short but really tight galloping riff thing. So I love that part. But aside from that, that's kind of it. It goes back to the verse again, repeats the first verse, and goes to a final chorus. And that's kind of it. And this is about as paint by numbers as you're going to get from Metallica. And the ending is a bit cringy. So I apologize, guys. Not your finest effort. I like the song, but I'm also biased. So I have to be a little bit objective and say 2 out of 5.
Ooh, man.
Yes.
Dude. All
Yes,
right.
I know.
I'm a little higher than that.
Okay.
I think I always love the huge drum sound. I actually like the military authority quality of the percussion. And I love Kurt's guitar at the beginning and how it wraps around all that. I think it's melodic at the beginning, and the march-like quality to me, in a lot of ways, is suggestive. And I think that there's a do the evolution quality to this song that I think there's a greater level of maybe self-awareness there. And it was a line that you brought up, like touch me again, like don't, you know what I mean? There's something about being so caught up in a frenzy that you almost like you lose the power of reason, if you will.
Yeah.
And
they're reacting, not responding is, I guess, my problem with it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? You're reacting, not responding. Okay, fair. Yeah. And I think that's what works in this song. Now, maybe that's my interpretation of it. Maybe that's my read on it. Maybe the band had a different attitude. James had a different attitude at the time. I'm inclined to think otherwise, but I think that there's something to be said for having the strength to defend yourself and those that you love and care about. And, and I don't take umbrage with that in any way, shape, or form. And I think that the song does celebrate America as a country and its ability to have grown to a place where it can do so with a level of might that, it is empowering enough that provides a sense of security for all. Now, certainly, it's a polarizing track in the sense that it calls into question whether or not that might is being used for the right reasons or not. And you know, what is the cost that comes with that might and maintaining the civility and the ability, again, remind you, this album's all about restraint. And here is the one song on the record lyrically that seems to revel in a lack of it.
Yes.
Okay. So to me, the song, as on the nose as the lyrics are, it feels like a slightly missed attempt to do what Born in the USA tried to do. To you know what I'm saying? Or
You think it's kind of ironic?
I think there was an intentional attempt at irony here.
Interesting.
And I don't know if it lands. Clearly, it doesn't. Right? But I have a hard time believing that an album that was so methodical and concentrated in its conciseness and its restraint and its ability to really keep everything so incubated to the point where, as you said, Kirk would do, I don't know how many dozens of solos for one song, that this one was just like, you know, America. It's like, so I don't know. It's a 3 out of 5 for me. Musically, I've always dug it. I always kind of read into it as more ironic.
That would change it for me a little bit, because it would be like, oh, that's interesting. Consider, like I said, coming off of Justice, where they were very critical.
I don't see that 180 happening. You know what I mean? And it's never been present in the band at any point in their career that I can recall.
The reason why I never thought of it in the ironic way is because, again, watching the Year and a Half in the Life of, while the recording, the news is always on, and I never really got the sense that James was not rah-rahing, not patriotic in those moments. I mean, again, it's edited, whatever. But on top of that, I mean, James is also it is. But James is also probably one of the more conservative guys in the band. You know, he loves to hunt. He lives out in the woods in Colorado. Sure. He left San Francisco area because it was too crunchy for him. He loves the cowboy aesthetic. Like, he's definitely not
motorcycles, loves to ride.
Yeah, like that's his vibe, which is why I think it works so well with Kirk and Lars and Robert, because they're all very chill and much more left of center, if I can use that term. So I never really thought of this song being ironic. But that would be a fun wrinkle if he was to be like, yeah, I wasn't.
Would be. And honestly, even if it's not, if this is what you're trying to do, I think it's a success musically. I really do. From the march-like elements of the percussion, I think are really well. There's a confidence around it. The riffs are muscular. I mean, if this is what you're trying to achieve, I think it's hard to argue that you missed the mark there. You know what I mean?
So I hear what you're saying. For me, the marching band stuff feels a little too on the nose and a bit cheesy to me. So yeah, I guess we just kind of disagree on what that means to us. But isn't that music?
Isn't that music?
We got to move on. Back half of the record, Through the Never. Through the Never is in stark contrast to most of this record in that it's probably as simple and undynamic as it gets from Metallica, which is interesting considering that was the whole point after the complex and protracted And Justice for All. But Through the Never almost goes too far. Almost. I love this main riff. It's kind of mesmerizing, but I can understand how some people might find it a bit too repetitive. That is duly noted. And this is where my personal feelings for the song and my attempt at being objectively critical are going to diverge a little bit. Now, lyrically, I like that James is thinking big, that we're all on this planet, hurtling through space, reaching for meaning in the void of the unknown. It's a very human approach from a guy who comes off very superhuman a lot of the time. But I think that's the thing. This song almost makes James and the guys feel too normal in a way. But nevertheless, Through the Never does offer us a fantastic section, and it's the bridge because, of course, it is. It is one of my favorite sections in all of the Metallica catalog. Down, 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 get it down, down. It's so, oh my God, it's so good. The riff is just damn groovy, swinging back and forth, and then James comes in with the on through the never. We must go. It's so good. And he's got it panned left and right, you know? It's easily the best part of the song for me. And an otherwise really fun, good song. But I think compared to what comes before, it's not as, it doesn't hit those marks. So while I like it a lot, I feel like it's probably not quite as high. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I could be talking 3.5, actually. I'll go 3.5. 3.5. You're shaking your head because you love it, is what you're saying.
4 out of 5.
Oh, 4 out of 5.
4.
I misread.
4 out of 5.
4. Still, okay,
Dude,
great. Love
this
it.
song is outstanding. This is
No, I agree with you.
just-
I love this song. It's just I have to be
it's
trying
like
to think critically.
classic. It's classic Metallica with modern production, and it's what Holier Than Thou wanted to be.
Oh, good shout.
But it's better realized, you know. And I hate to keep going back to Pearl Jam. I kept saying that they kept missing on all these like dad punk songs until we got to Super Blood Wolfman. I was like, okay, finally they nailed it. This to me, Through the Never, is classic Metallica, filtered through Bob Rock, absolutely nailed. I mean, it's like that riff at the beginning, boom, all it is was and will be. I mean, it's like it's so melodic, it's energetic, it's fast, and there's like, you know what I really dig about it too is this like, it's philosophical, which I always appreciate when bands try to do, especially when James does it. And there's like this, you talked about this cosmic quality about it, but it's not pretentious.
Yeah.
That's huge. You know what I mean? Like, because they're at this stage, like they could have very easily gone in that direction with this song. You could argue that there's a pretentious nature to the song that just came before this. Right. And so I think and the interplay, dude, the interplay between James and Kirk are, it's like top notch. It's another level. So I don't know, man. I mean, I just think there's a lot musically happening in the song. To me, it feels like all of these records, like it's 1991, we're going to do a Thrasher song, and Kirk and James are sitting here saying, okay, how have all of the Thrasher songs got us to a place where we can like rock and riff off of each other right now in a way that's different? And it was like taking all of those lessons and just putting it into this like concise, just punch in the mouth. And the lyrics don't run away with it either. I don't know. I've always loved this song. This is like the Fresh Tendrils of the Metallica catalog for me. Well, what Fresh Tendrils is in the Soundgarden catalog, it's like one of my top 5 favorite songs I've ever done. Everyone looks at me like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" But I just love it. This is that for me. I'm a huge fan of this song. And I mean, the bridge, like you said, I mean, it is that is really that hits, dude. I mean, so there's a lot going on in this song that is done well to me, where it's not a 5 out of 5 in the way that Unforgiven or Enter Sandman is, but this song's killer. I'm a big fan of it. So 4 out of 5.
All right. Well, you talked me up, or maybe I talked myself up from a 3 to 3.5. It's definitely a 3.5 now that I'm thinking about it.
Isn't there a concert film that they released like years later named after this?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to do the big one here. Nothing else matters.
Never opened myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. All these words I don't just say, and nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters. The song that nearly wasn't. It definitely took some convincing, but James allowed himself to be vulnerable in a way that he just had not been to this point. A love song by Metallica? What is happening here? Have I lost my band now? No, you have.
Power ballad, man. It's 91. Power ballad.
Come on now. Well, let's talk about the main riff.
Right.
Just plucking open strings that form an E minor, the ultimate Metallica chord, the E minor, of course. But then Kirk elevates it with that classical inspired licks, and then off we go. Now, honestly, I actually don't have too much to say about this song. It's incredibly simple. The lyrics are a welcome change of mood and character and vulnerability, as I said, but they are repetitive in the way that there are 3 verses and all of them are repeated throughout the song. The verses are good, but they're just repeated. It's a minor knock. The bridge section, lovely, delicate. James' guitar solo is cathartic and abbreviated just enough to keep you wanting more. And I actually prefer how they play this song live over what's in the studio version, because when they play it live, they often eschew the final verse, which is actually the first verse, for hanging on the final note of the guitar solo. But that's just me, and we're talking about the studio version, so ignore that for 1 second. But on the other hand, while I love Lars's drum sound on this record, for me, it doesn't quite fit the mood of this track, because the loud and thick, bombastic tone of his kit, it's just not what's required for such a delicate song. Now, I can see someone arguing and saying, well, it's that dichotomy that's so brilliant. Okay, fair enough. Agree to disagree, but I hear you. Listen, it's an all-timer for most fans, and it brought Metallica to a completely whole new audience, mostly women, and that's rad.
Yeah.
But it ain't perfect for me. It's just very, very good. 4 out of 5.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going 5 out of 5. It's
Okay.
arguably as recognizable as Enter Sandman.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Look, you said it best. It introduced the band to audiences that had really never listened to them before, or at least hadn't been willing to give them a try because they were a metal band. It's one of the biggest rock songs that's ever been recorded. Pure and simple. You may not agree with it. I think it's the emotional heart of the album on a lot of levels. Yeah. I would argue that and here's why I think it's a 5 out of 5. And again, this goes back to sad but true, giving space. Every instrument on this song occupies its own emotional space. The production is absolutely immaculate. It's gorgeous. It really, really is. From
Michael
the
Kamen string
arrangement.
section. God bless Michael Kamen. Shout out, R.I.P.
And Kirk, too, again, restraint. Kirk Hammett's solo, it's lyrical in quality, and it's also
that's not Kirk. That's James.
Oh, it's James. You're right. So, but it's lyrical in its quality, which makes sense because, it's James writing, but it's also very understated. And I think that's important too, because there's a temptation to say, well, there's these big bombastic solos elsewhere on the record. Let me show you what I can do. And he doesn't do that. He just allows it to occupy the space that it's supposed to have within the confines of the song. And I think that's important too. I would also say that, you talked about the song that almost wasn't, and I want to go a little bit into that. Wasn't it written while he was on the phone or something like that?
I don't recall if it was on the phone or not. It was definitely on the road.
Okay.
I think it was about a girl. I think it was
there's
about
an accidental quality to this, though, right?
I don't. I should know, but I don't recall if it was.
For some reason, I remember that there was it was almost written with less intention. And I think what was cool was that there's a level of vulnerability that he was willing to show in songwriting that I think belies something really important, in the sense that there is a masculinity with earlier records. You know what I mean? You listen to Metallica, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't about, hey, let's write a power ballad so we can market ourselves to a larger audience. There was a conscious, intentional, purposeful attempt to write something personal and to allow himself to be vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability was incredibly important at this stage and on this record, because this record was a gamble, man, on a lot of levels. You know what I mean? From top to bottom. So I don't know. To me, it's like the epitome of the gamble. You know what I mean? So sometimes I wish Pearl Jam's Sirens could be this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, take that gamble. It's like,
it's a wonderful song. It's a wonderful song. I was trying. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge Metallica fan. It was like my soundtrack of my high school days, while I was kind of halfway in and out of my Pearl Jam fandom. Metallica ruled the day, and so I listened to everything countless times. Watched the Cutting Stunts DVD, and my first Metallica show was Woodstock '99. That's a whole other conversation, and I was obsessed. So I've heard the song a million times, and I love it to death. I think I'm just trying to be careful about not being too biased in my musical criticism of all these records that we talk about. So that's why I docked it a little bit, but no umbrage given from me for a 5 out of 5, because most people will probably give it a 5 out of 5. So
yeah.
There we go. We've got 4 tracks left, and oh baby, I'm excited about this section of the album. Not gonna lie.
Let's grow some fangs, buddy. Let's grow some fangs.
Of Wolf and Man.
After the new day is missed, I run. After the new day is missed, I come. We shift, pulsing with the earth. Company we keep, roaming the land while you sleep. Shape shift.
For me, Of Wolf and Man starts off, like I said, the most interesting section of the record. The next 3 tracks, especially, for me, are incredibly underrated. I'm curious to see where we both end up on these. For this song, the intro to chorus build up, the riffage, the pounding drums, like I think we're back to the kind of song structure and dynamics that were prevalent at the beginning of the record. And I think lyrically, this idea of man turning into a wolf. I mean, yes, we've all read and watched and listened to stories of werewolves before, but this is different to me. This is more about simplifying your life. It's much more like how Metallica were simplifying their songwriting for this album. It's the whole back to basics concept. Now take these lines. I feel a change, back to a better day. Hair stands in the back of my neck. Wildness is the preservation of the world. So seek the wolf in thyself. Hetfield is using that werewolf trope to romanticize on simpler times, being more in tune with nature, which, I mean, and there's no way he could have known how technology would have evolved to control our lives. But I mean, how relevant is this song today? You know? And then briefly on Lars's drums. I mean, this song has some of my favorite stuff from him on the record. The main groove is simple, but he's got some very clever fills throughout it that keeps things interesting while not being the star of the show, playing for the song. Now, musically, again, the guitar solo section is fantastic, no surprise there, and it gives way to a bridge that only builds up the tension even more. They've taken a bit of that Sandman blueprint here with the spoken word band break type section, but they've built on it. And the vocal layers are next level too. This is not something that we got on previous records. This is all Bob Rock, and it's brilliant. Now, the song ends on a high too, recalling that opening staccato nature of the intro. Like, it's not a flawless song, but goddamn, is this song underrated? I love it. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a hidden gem for sure, man. It really is. Now, it's overshadowed, obviously, by some of the bigger singles that are on the record. But, and I think this is key, it begins what I think is a very dark stretch. Or I'm sorry, I should say it begins the album's darker closing stretch, if we're being honest. And I think that part is key. Now, what I love about it is it's dense, but it's not muddy. You know what I mean? I think that's key because in 1990, 91, you had the whole Seattle thing going on. There was a muddy kind of like grungy, if you quality, sludgy. Yeah. This is dense, but it's not muddy. And I think that's important. And obviously Bob Rock's production has a lot to do with that. But, and I think this is also important. There's a level of commitment from James that I think is pretty cool. Like, he goes all in on this, man. I mean, he's the whole werewolf metaphor, all that's really interesting. You know what I mean? But it's again, and it goes back to Sad But True. There's a lot of like meditating on, the darker side of humanity and our primal instincts. And I think that's all really, really important. I think, again, that's why a song like, Don't Tread on Me fits well here, because that folds into that idea of, our darker side and our primal instincts and awakening the beast within, so to speak, and the sad but true nature of what makes us human. You know what I mean? But I also think that it's an underrated riff too. And you obviously mentioned that. It's like, it's a dark groove, man. You know what I mean? It really is. So I'm with you, 4 out of 5 on this one. I think it's a song that I have a lot of fun playing. It's one of those ones that I look forward to. Like if I'm at a listening party, and we're listening to the Black Album, and somebody's sitting here and has never heard it, I'm actually, this is the song that I want to watch to see how somebody reacts to.
Yeah, it's great. And Metallica does this cool thing where they record every show, they film every show, and they put out on their YouTube over the next couple of weeks, I think at least 1 or 2 tracks, video form on the YouTube. And recently, I think they just wrapped up their tour. I mean, it's been 2.5, 3 years they've been on this 72 seasons tour, and they're going to the Sphere in the fall. I will be there at the Sphere.
You got tickets to the Sphere?
Yes.
Unbelievable, dude.
We'll talk offline. But so they finish up this tour, and they put out these cuts, and they just pick random songs, a couple of songs from each show, and I guess they played A Wolf and Man recently in like Cardiff or something like that, and I was like, ooh! And so I'm watching. I'm like, oh god, this song fucking slaps! It's so good. Why aren't they playing it more often? But you know, they have like 12 albums or 13 albums to pull from, so I understand why they wouldn't. But yes, I love it. I'm with you. Okay, I'm still very excited because up next is The God That Failed.
I see faith in your eyes. Never you hear the discouraging lies. I hear faith in your cries. Broken is the promise, betrayal. The healing hand held back by the deeper nail. Follow the God that failed.
Musically, The God That Failed, it does a lot of what A Wolf and Man does. It's heavy, it's meaty, it's groovy, and it slinks between chords gracefully yet powerfully. And yet it's not repetitive. James, Kirk, and Jason, they keep things moving relatively briskly as we feel like we're ascending to somewhere. The music is just awesome. But I think it's the lyrical content that's really interesting here. This song was written... I don't know if you know the story, but the song was written by James by his
mom,
mother.
right? Yeah.
Yes. She was a Christian Scientist. And if you don't know what that means, basically her beliefs precluded her from getting help from medicine or doctors. It was prayed away, essentially. So in 1980, when James was just 16 years old, he and his siblings just watched his mom, Cynthia, succumb to cancer. She refused treatment. So when I listen to the song, I feel his frustration, I feel his pain, and his complicated relationship with his faith. He is a Christian guy. And just listen to this chorus. I mean, Jesus. I see faith in your eyes. Never you hear the discouraging lies. I hear faith in your cries. Broken is the promise, betrayal. The healing hand held back by the deepened nail. Follow the God that failed. Oh, God. And this is an attack on religion as much as anger and frustration with his mother's strict adherence to it. You know, it's grieving, not fully processed. And I get it. It just so happens that this story is paired with incredibly powerful music. I mean, the guitar lines between the singing are catchy. The palm muted chords underneath the singing are powerful and stubborn. And I've spoken about how brilliant many of the guitar solo sections are on this album. And God That Failed is no exception. You know, it's got that roller coaster energy of the Unforgiven. You know, it's got the drum accents and buildups of A Wolf and Man. And honestly, it's just super cathartic. And it all swings us back to the chorus perfectly. Again, architecturally, this song is pure class. And I've been gushing about this song. However, I would also totally understand anyone who says, it's about a minute too long. You know, this is where the guys maybe got a little bit self-indulgent. Now, personally, I don't mind it. And the very ending with the layered harmonized guitars giving way to that clean arpeggio, I think it's really effing cool. But I do get it. So, you know, for that, I'm going to dock it a little bit, but I can't be too biased here. It's a 4 out of 5.
It's a 4 out of 5 for me. Oh, yeah, I'm with you. And I think the reason I'm with you, musically, we'll get into that even more, but I think it's one of the strongest examples of James' maturation as a lyricist.
Yes.
It really is. And again, the permission to be vulnerable. And I think that is what's so key and important here. You know what I mean? It adds a level of emotional weight late in the record. And I think that's also key because this is the kind of song you would see either ending an album or happening much earlier. And for it to be the 10th song on a 12-song record, I think is important too. Every riff, dude, feels huge.
Yeah, I love it.
This song, man.
I love it.
And there's a massive low end too, which I think is important for this song too. So I love this song. You talked about the anger. You can hear the genuine anger, but it's again beneath that restraint. And I think that matters too. That's like a recurring, motif for me here. It's outstanding vocal delivery on a lot of levels. Obviously, it's deeply emotional, but it never like ventures into the melodramatic and overly sentimental.
No,
and maybe that's
doesn't.
because it's 91, not 81. I think that has a lot to do with it too. But still, it's a deeply personal song. It's a fantastic groove. It's just it's slow burning and like it's relentless. I mean, it pounds. It just goes and goes.
It's
and goes.
just heavy on the multiple fronts.
It's a heavy groove. And then I think that matches the subject matter. And they don't try to get too cute here. Is it overly indulgent in certain places? Perhaps so. But given the subject matter, shouldn't that also be permitted? So 4 out of 5.
These last two songs, A Wolf and Man, and My Friend, God That Failed. These two songs are very, especially this one, God That Failed, so rarely played. And I feel like most Metallica fans really love them.
Mm-hmm.
They actually played A Wolf and Man at the S&M shows. So there is a grandiose orchestral quality to these songs. They chose those songs for the S&M project specifically for reasons. And this one's great as well as A Wolf Man. We got 2 more, and I'm curious about these next 2. Next up, first though, is My Friend of Misery. Paul, we were talking offline before we got going here, and you mentioned something about the song. Well,
I did.
I'm going to say it from the jump, just to kind of get under your skin, because I can't contain it, Paul. For me, this is the best song on the album.
Wow. Okay.
Allow me to explain why, my friend. Allow me to explain. First off, the intro. My Friend of Misery begins just like The God That Failed began. And that's Jason Newsted in one of, if not his greatest contribution.
Unforgettable bass melody. Dude. Unforgettable bass melody. I'll give you that.
What a riff. What a vibe. And this whole intro here, it's very unique. Actually, this song, I think, is very unique to the Metallica canon. Probably why I like it so much. And again, just like Unforgiven, Wolf, God, musically, this song has a lot going on in it. And I'll get into that. It's heavy. It's melodic. It's quirky. It's simple yet complex. But first, I want to focus on the lyrics for a second. And this is how James opens the song. You just stood there screaming, fearing no one was listening to you. They say the empty can rattles the most. The sound of your own voice must soothe you. Hearing only what you want to hear and knowing only what you've heard. You're smothered in tragedy. I love that line. And you're off to save the world. And that's the level that we're dealing with here. This song, for me, is cinematic. I mentioned orchestral a moment ago. This song, for me, is orchestral. After the second chorus, the band recedes, and we're left with just Jason's bass riff. But little guitar volume swells, chimes in the background, very tranquil. And then Lars's drums return with that halftime feel. And what's that? Is that a Western-style guitar arpeggio? It sure is. And then harmonized guitars, and then a full-time drum groove? What the hell is going on? Where am I? You're in The Friend of Misery. That's where you're at. And then bam, Kirk the Ripper Hammett is absolutely doing the business in an abbreviated guitar solo, and then right back into the chorus. And guys, this is how you write a 7-minute song and keep it interesting. Hammett soloing throughout the final chorus and then into a full-blown second chorus on the back end. This is everything for me. And one of my favorite parts of the entire Metallica catalog is when the band breaks in the back end of that solo. Oh, I get the full Stone Gossard chicken head grooving thing going on. Oh my God. It's just, and then finally, Lars leads us home into the heaviest of manners, and we end up in a completely different place than where we were 7 minutes prior. I would argue that My Friend of Misery is the perfect bridge song between what Justice offered you and what the Black Album era was meant to offer you. It features the best of what each album had. and it absolutely nails it. And that's why for me, it's got to be a 5 out of 5. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Here's why you're wrong.
I love it. Go on. Your
I
opinion
think
matters too, Paul.
sonically, it captures loneliness and emotional isolation better than any other song on the record. I just listened to you spend, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes extolling the virtues of its sonic qualities and the musical composition of the song.
Yeah.
Conversely, of all of that time, there might have been 7 to 12 seconds spent on the lyrics.
Mhm.
And I say that because this song should have been an instrumental. I
Interesting.
think it was an instrumental before lyrics were added later, if memory serves me correct. I'll have to double check my facts on that one. But I think this is the perfect example. And especially like the bass shines on this record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a showcase in a lot of ways. This is the one song where I think if it had been put on the record as an instrumental, it would have been it would be iconic on a whole nother level. It would be this thing that like you go to a Metallica show, just are they going to play? You can call My Friend of Misery all you want, you know. Are they going to play that song? You know what I mean? I feel like the lyrics stunted, and that's
Interesting.
not
Why?
a knock on James, because there's so much movement. It feels like you talked about it. It's over 7 minutes long. It feels like a classical song with measures and movements. It doesn't need lyrics. The music itself does an amazing job.
Do you hate the lyrics
capturing.
though, or do you just think it deserves to be musical by nature?
I feel like I don't feel like they're an organic part of the song. I feel like they're just like they're tacked on to me. It just doesn't feel like an organic part of the song. And here's why: there's no other song on the album that meanders like this. Everything is so
meanders, he says.
Well, I say that in the sense that every other song on the record is so meticulously crafted.
See, I think built. This is too.
It like every song's like a haiku, right? I mean, it's all like, how do we do more with less? This one is like just like breathe. Just, I mean, exhale for as long as you can, and it doesn't need lyrics. I feel like this was the one song on the record that when I listen to it, I can't help but wonder, what would it sound like without the lyrics? And I think it's brilliant without the lyrics. And I feel like the lyrics are unnecessary. I'm not saying that they're poorly written. I'm not saying that it was an ill-advised choice to add them and that it automatically diminishes any virtue that the song has. But I do feel that the song fails to reach its ambitions because the lyrics weigh it down. And so I have a hard time ever like... I mean, I don't know, man. I have a hard, it would be this perfect song if you just had it with no lyrics leading into the struggle within, and not as an intro, as its own piece, but it would be this instrumental masterpiece just hidden on this gem, this iconic record.
So it's more about the fact that you think any lyrics get in the way of the music as opposed to not liking the lyrics themselves? Or is it not?
A little bit of both. I feel like the music is already doing what its job. Like what you're trying to do in the lyrics, the music already did for you. So if you're not the lyrics don't add anything to me. They don't elevate it. They don't add a new layer to it. They don't make me think. They're just there. They're almost like, well, this is, I listen to it and it makes me feel this way. So I'm just going to write that feeling that down, but you didn't need to. That's what it's like in writing, they always tell you, show, don't tell. This is a classic example of a song that already shows. There's no need to tell. And so for me, as I want it as an instrumental, which sounds weird, but this is one of those songs in the catalog that, and I don't say that about most of them, but any of them really, but this one.
This is the first album in 4 that they did not have an instrumental on. Call of Cthulhu, Ride of the Lightning, Orion, Master of Puppets.
This is the one for me that this should have been it, and I think it would have been so perfect to have it here, because you're like, okay, wow, man, like there hasn't been an instrumental yet. There's only two songs left. Then you get it. It's like, oh man, I'm glad I waited for that.
Well, with AI, you can probably strip out the vocals and have your own version of this. Don't do that, kids. That's mean. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, what's the ranking then? What's the score?
I'm going a 3 out of 5. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. You could push me to a 4. I hear that, but it's you could push me to a 4, but
okay.
I don't know. Somebody's got to have it out there somewhere with no lyrics. It has to exist. I don't know.
Guys, don't email that to us. Don't. All right, we got one more track. Here we go. The Struggle Within. We end the record with The Struggle Within, and I'm going to keep this brief, Paul, which suits the song, the review, I should say, because it is the shortest song outside of Holier Than Thou. It's the shortest one. Honestly, this song is half-baked. For me, it's filler. This is the record company wants a 12th song. The main riff is kind of monotonous. The marching band and snare intro feels tacked on. The lyrics are simplistic, repetitive, and unimaginative. I actually kind of like the theme, the struggle within. Like, let's explore that. But he doesn't really explore it that much. And don't get me wrong, I do love a relentless bludgeoning of a song as much as the next guy. But like, there's just not enough happening here. And I think the highlight of the track, unsurprisingly, is Kirk's solo, again featured in A Year and a Half in the Life of. But I don't think this can save the song in the review, the rating. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Oh man, it's at least a 3 for me. I think it's one of the stronger closing tracks in the entire catalog.
What?
Yeah,
Damaging, Dyer's Eve.
Now I think you're overlooking it. I think you're overlooking it because of its position. You are overlooking it because it's delayed.
No.
If this is track 8 or 4 or somewhere else, I don't think you're gonna say that. It really feels half baked to you, really?
Yes, it's really, really half baked.
I don't know. It's like it's aggressive. It's powerful. It's crisp. Here's what I'll tell you, and this is where we differ. I don't feel. The ending feels earned to me, not obligatory. For you, just feels like they're just, we need 12, so here you go. Here's a 12. The amount of energy that went into this record, I don't think anything on this record is obligatory. I think every single note on it is intentional and filled with purpose. I really, really do. Dude, they sound like they sound super jazzed on this song. They're like super energized. I don't know where in the recording process it was recorded. Because they don't always record every song in sequence. Right. But I do feel like as a performance, it's energetic. I mean, it doesn't feel like a song that they're phoning it in for. You know what I mean? And I think lyrically speaking, I think that it appropriately closes the album when you consider the vast array of psychological themes that the Black Album explores. So idea that we're going to end the album with a song about an internal battle rather than an external one, what a perfect way to close it.
There's your 2 points. You know how musically focused I am on most music, and
fair enough.
This one is just like
it's a 3 for me. You know what I mean? I enjoy it though. Like I'm not like skipping it. So
I don't skip it either. I don't turn off the CD or whatever after My Friend of Misery, but like
I'm sure there are some people that are like the album should have ended with My Friend of Misery, but I think it's perfect.
Listen, I do think 11 is the perfect song, or the perfect album length. 11 songs.
11.
Yeah, I like that.
That's fair.
Anyways, I got a few final thoughts here as we close things out. I gotta say, first of all, big ups, multiple ups to Bob Rock, as we've mentioned it multiple times, for making Metallica sound like the heaviest band in the world, because they were / are. Listen, I'm not breaking news when I say this as a complete. It's as complete a heavy metal performance as you're going to find. It is not perfect, as we mentioned, but I think its highs are higher than most bands will ever even hope to touch. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. But to dive deeper into each song, I think reveals why it's so acclaimed musically and lyrically. Now, like I said, selfishly, I wish Metallica would look to emulate this approach on their next and probably final record, because I think the last couple of records have been a bit bloated, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think this was the balance, right? Because we got an even greater shift into radio friendly, concise, restrained, and for the most part, songs. Although I shouldn't say restrained, because there was 27 songs across load and reload, so they weren't that restrained. But this bridge album of sorts between the load and reload era and the technical craziness that was Puppets into Justice, it's such a great. I'm not breaking news here. Such a great record.
You mentioned Bob Rock. I mean, production is key, man. I mean, sometimes a band gets with a producer and there's a level of synergy that is it's lightning in a bottle. It's cosmic. It really is. I mean, every riff on this record has a purpose. Every single chorus lands. Every solo, whether it's James or Kirk, just serves the song instead of showcasing their virtuosity, which, and Kirk is like a genius, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I felt like on previous albums, it was like you had these riffs and they were almost like competing for attention at times. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bob Rock did not soften, subdue, castrate Metallica. Bob Rock focused Metallica on this record.
Exactly the right word.
He just focused them. He took this just indescribable force of energy, and he managed to kind of somehow filter it into a focused direction. And this album was the end result. So I think it is their best record for all of those reasons. And that's taking nothing away from the virtuosity and the acclaim and the iconic riffs on all their previous records and some of the amazing stuff they've made since then. But this was that watershed moment in the band's career where they were either going to become derivative or they were going to evolve into something. For Radiohead, it was OK Computer. For the Beatles, it was, I don't know, I guess Revolver, some might say Rubber Soul. And I think for Metallica, it was this record here. And I love this record on a lot of levels, on every level. Not every track has become a classic, and that's totally fine. But there's not a bad track on the record. There are remarkably few moments where I would say, that song's terrible, or that's weak, or that's filler. They should just cut that out. And, it's only our favorite records that you and I ever look back on and say that about. So clearly, this is in the canon. So
I would also say I'm curious what people out there think when you say that this is their best record, because a lot of Metallica fans will argue between the middle three of that first five run, the Lightning and Puppets and Justice, and maybe kind of not turn their nose up at the Black Album, but not think of it as part of the upperest echelon, if I may. I would agree with both of you in the sense that
it's the most complete record. It's the rare record in the band's catalog where songwriting, musicianship, production, accessibility, and their own artistic ambition actually meet again, Bob Rock focused them. So
it's hard to argue that, and I'm not going to, but I will say that it isn't my favorite record of theirs. It often vacillates between Puppets and Justice.
Okay.
But as far as a complete record, and I use the word complete to talk mostly lyrically, it's hard to top that. I think musically speaking, for those who like metal, Puppets and Justice are in a different fucking world.
Sure.
But from a complete songwriting process, including lyrics, including singing and performance and production, how do you argue with this record? It is a complete package of music, not just metal. So fucking, complain to me in the comments if you want. Argue with the wall if you want. Argue with Paul. You should argue with Paul. He's the one
argue with this guy.
said. Anyways, I knew this would be a long one because there's so many great songs and it's a longer album. And here we are closing in on, we're on an hour and a half. And that's it. That's what it is. But you know what? It is what it is. And thanks for being with us. I'm curious what you guys think about each of these 12 tracks from Metallica's Black Album. Happy 35 years out there in the wild to the Black Album. And if you're curious about this show and supporting this show, there are links below for our Patreon and the Pod Shop to help keep us moving in the right direction. And if you want to go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications, that helps the YouTube algorithm and fans of music finding this content. If you're listening only, though, Paul, what should they do?
You should rate, you should review, and hopefully subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm because nothing else matters.
He had it in his fucking... that bullet was in his chamber for the last 45 minutes. The gunslinger from Unforgiven was ready. There he is. Well,
right there.
There
that
he
was
is.
me.
Is that Lexington?
Every time you look at that, you're going to think of that segue, right?
I might from this point forward. Just a reminder to those of you who are the big Pearl Jam fans, that's a lot of you, we'll be in Seattle August 28th through 30th. Big weekend celebrating 35 years of 10, 30 years of No Code.
Oh,
God, what a year 1991 was. Two of the massive amount of albums that came out in that year. And a big Saturday planned in the Pacific Northwest. So get to our channels for information and details on ticketing. And we'll see you up there if you're coming. If not, we'll see you next week. And until we do, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.